Hi, Simi here. I'm a branding expert with Prospology. We're going to take a look at a freelance medical writer's bio transformation and see its evolution. It started out like a lot of freelance medical writer bios, overly complex, filled with technical jargon, and really lacking any kind of personal storytelling or relatability. So, right off the bat, the sentence highlighted in yellow: as a freelance medical writer, so and so is passionate about utilizing her clinical and pharmaceutical industry experience in cannabinoids to communicate complex yet intriguing cannabis information in a way that is easily digestible to a broad array of audiences. So while that's important information about her niche and what she does, it's a really long sentence that's very complex and filled with a lot of technical professional jargon. It goes on in the blue sentence: in her previous role as a medical cannabis pharmacist and as a medical science liaison, she established herself as a subject matter expert. And it's even longer than that sentence. So it's kind of listing titles. And by the end of the first paragraph, we really don't have a sense of who this person is and what they're about. She goes on to explain kind of in an abstract, vague way, kind of a detached way, about some of her professional experience. As an example, here highlighted in pink, this sentence: expanding beyond her responsibility as a skilled educator, she advocated for integrated and well-structured research that will continue to inform and improve patient outcomes. So nothing wrong with that information. It's just that the way it's shared is very detached, and you still don't have a sense of who this person is or even what that experience is about or why that matters at all to a freelance medical writer such as herself. Now we'll take a look at the after bio, and this is after going through the coaching process as a Prospology student. So that involved multiple rounds of revision, multiple experts there to support the student and help her get to the heart of what she wanted to do and why, and then be able to communicate that clearly. So you can see in the yellow sentence at the beginning, starting right off the bat, it's much more conversational and relatable and interesting and also personal. She says, "Hi, I'm so-and-so. I am a neurospicy medical writer who merges clinical and pharmaceutical expertise for a unique take on cannabinoid therapy." So much simpler to read sentence than the first version, and the neurospicy detail is so much more relatable and interesting. She goes on to describe advances in alternative therapies and her own healing journey and what she's inspired by, and different topics: neurodivergence, psychedelics, and pharmacogenomics. So within that first paragraph, you get a sense of that she's really interested in these topics because of professional and personal expertise and experience. She goes on to share much of her professional experience, some of the same information, but the way that she does it is much more relatable and through personal storytelling. So in blue here, you see one of the most rewarding moments was teaming up to create a life-changing cannabis regimen for a child with autism, and then the products weren't available. She goes on to tell the story and how it inspired her to do something about it by helping in this space. And so it gives you a sense of what she's done, rather than just saying, she could have just said, I was a medical cannabis pharmacist and I took care of a lot of patients directly and managed their cannabis regimens. While that might show that same subject matter expertise, this is much more relatable and vivid, a tangible way to understand not just what she did, but how she felt about it and how she made decisions in that process, to give you a sense of who she is as a person. Throughout her bio, this is much more, it's written in a much more conversational, simpler to read way. So it sounds a lot more like something that somebody would say out loud, and not just that anybody would say out loud, but that this particular individual would say out loud. When you read this and then you hear her speak, it sounds aligned and coherent. And that's so important to building that brand identity. And so in the end, she ends with some deliverables that she does and offerings that she has, all important information. But by the time she's sharing that, she's already told you who she is, what she's passionate about, giving you rich stories to weave through the details of her experience to show you who she is. And so it comes across much more relatable and not so detached as it did before. So here's just an example, this biotransformation of going from that overly complex technical jargon to a much more relatable conversational bio, which is so important to getting traction in your business. As a matter of fact, this particular student, even as she was working on her branding assignment as a Prospology student, was invited to be a guest on a podcast about the intersection of neurodivergence and cannabis. And a lot of the podcast focus was personal storytelling. And I don't think that, she would have been selected for that, or probably would have been passed over had she kept that original bio, because it was so dry and technical and overly professional. They wouldn't even have a sense that she's fascinated by and super knowledgeable about this topic. So that's just an example of the impact that solid branding and a professional bio with coaching can have on launching your freelance medical writing business.